Okay, so just to tell you guys about some new things that are in version 2.0, and if you guys don't know why this is called version 2.0, you can see the instructables that I've linked down in the description that is also created by me, and that's the first version. And the differences is between I have another battery case because if you've seen the first version of the Hovercraft battery was actually just in the front, and the weight of the battery was what was pushing the nose of the hovercraft down, which was increasing friction on the front. And since I added like a chamber underneath the hovercraft, which I will be showing you later, it has a less surface area that's touching the ground, which also means reduced friction, so it can like drift more. And it has an enhanced skirt because honestly, I didn't really know how to make the skirt in the first version, so now I've fully made a proper working hovercraft. So this is the chamber that I was talking about, and basically what it does is it's connected right to the base of the hovercraft, as shown right here, and this lifts the hovercraft up a little, and the air basically can like support the hovercraft inside that bubble that the support creates, and the frame can then help reduce the friction because as you can see it's only like a centimeter thick around the edge, so it's not as much of the hovercraft actually touching the ground. And then the last part of the base is making the skirt, right? So, as you may have recalled if you saw the instructables, is that the skirt is basically just a plastic bag and it's wrapped around the base of the hovercraft. And like I said, the frame acts as a support for the bubble that is created. And the skirt does a similar job, but it's acting as the bottom. And the hovercraft has to have some circulation, so that's why you see these holes cut out into the plastic bag over here. And then after cutting a plastic bag sheet and the holes in it, roughly about the size of, a little more than the size of the hovercraft, you can just cut it off and then tape it like so. Okay, so now that we've finished the base, all that's left is really the top. And as you may recall from the instructables that I made, it's actually the same stuff. It's just like, as you can see, the battery is in a different spot. Um, So yeah, all the wires are the same connections. It's just that this time instead of having a remote Bluetooth controller, we just control it from a tablet. So it's actually simpler to make. Okay, so now we're in our Arduino IDE, and this is the program that I've created for the Hovercraft 2.0. And so first we have our servo library for the rudder and declare the ESC and the rudder. And then we have this character T, which we will use to store whatever data that is coming from the stereo monitor, which the tablet will send to the Bluetooth module. So then we just attach all the stuff and basically your simple um, setup code of the hovercraft. And then we have a bunch of if statements here. So this might look a little confusing, but first the first if statement is basically just checking if the tablet is connected to the Bluetooth module and if it's getting information. And then we declare if it is, then we declare that T is the variable that stores whatever the serial data comes from. And then we just use serial.print t just for debugging issues and just to check if it's working. And then all of these commands are you can actually find inside the app itself, which is Bluetooth RC controller. And I will be showing that later where you can find the commands. So first we have if you click the forward button, it's just gonna the ESC is gonna write 35. I didn't want to make it too fast, so I just said 35, and then the rudder will write 90. And then if it's G, which is basically top right, I think, then the rudder will write 65, and same thing with the ESC. And If I, it's top left, so then it's 115 degrees and 35, and so on. And then the S is basically if no buttons are being pressed, then everything is at 0 or its default state for the rudder. And otherwise, it would just like keep going with the last command that was inputted, and that would be disastrous for your house. So yeah. And then if it's to the right, then it's basically the same commands as before, but it's more user friendly on the interface. So yeah, and then same thing for the left. So now I'm in my tablet, and as you can see, the app is called Bluetooth RC Controller. So if I click on that, then you can see the whole interface here, and the way you see the commands that are sent, you go to the settings block, settings, and then you can see there's a section called settings, and all the commands are listed of what characters are sent to the car. So then you know what to put in your IDE. And if you want to change the commands that are sent, you can always do that just by pasting another character from this list. Okay, so that's basically it for the coding and building part. But the ESC has an arming system, and that's why it's not working right now, and it's just making a bunch of random beeps. So what you gotta do is you have to turn on the Hovercraft and connect it to the tablet, which has already been done. And then you have to unplug one of the wires and then plug it back in. And then you have to try using a control, and then it'll make the 3 beeps, and it should work.